Look, Upwork isn't what it used to be. I've been on Upwork for almost 6 or 7 years now. I'm in the top 3% of all freelancers on the platform. And in this video, I kind of want to talk about, is Upwork even still worth it in 2026? And just so you know, I'm not being biased. I'm actually going to start with the things that I really don't like about Upwork, what I think is holding a lot of people back, what maybe makes it not worth it. So in my opinion, one of the #1 cons and one of the things that makes Upwork maybe not worth it in 2026 is the fees. Upwork's fees are super expensive and they kind of range in different areas. For example, if you're in the UK, you pay a 10% flat fee and you also pay, sometimes a 2 to 5% VAT fee, usually about 2%. And that can add up. Losing 12% of every single penny that you make on the platform makes a big difference. And I know this because I've spent over $10,000 in fees in the last few months just on Upwork alone. Not including connects, not including my team, literally just on fees that I could have just had for free if I had gotten the client outside of Upwork. And let's be honest, all I hear about in the comment section is people complaining about Upwork's fees and connects, which actually leads me on to the next thing, which is Upwork's connects, which are, ultimately expensive and they do cost money. I think if I could boil down what holds people back on Upwork into one thing, it would be the connects. Upwork connects are about $1.80 to $2 for every 10 connects that you buy. I'm spending a lot on connects, to be honest. Like in my last video, you may have seen I spent $1,700 on connects, but I know plenty of agency owners on Upwork who are spending over $4,000 a month on connects, which is pretty crazy. And I'm not even at that level yet where I'm spending that much because I'm getting such a good return. I think at the moment I'm getting about a 10 to 15x return on my connects, but I'm going down that route and it does, freak me out a little bit on how expensive it actually is. So Upwork fees and Upwork connects are definitely something that kind of hold people back and maybe make you not want to take on Upwork in 2026. But one other thing that definitely can hold people back on Upwork is the review system. In reality, one bad review can absolutely destroy your entire profile. And this is super annoying, but it's one of the things that I do actually like about Upwork. It holds people accountable, but sometimes you might just get a random person that will give you a super bad review and it can significantly hurt your profile. I even have a student called Harrison who recently had a bad review on his profile and he went from 100% job success score to 95% job success score. And you might be like, well, that probably doesn't even make a big difference. It makes a massive difference. I mean, who wants to hire somebody that does a good job 95% of the time? And another thing that's kind of paired in with the review system is the fact that Upwork is honestly very difficult for complete beginners. If you've never had a client on Upwork and you have a completely brand new profile, you're in for a tough road. For me, for example, my first client was $180. I was doing something like 6 or 7 social media posts every single day on multiple different platforms. It was taking me forever. And I actually ended up getting a super bad review by the lady who hired me. And that held me back for a long time. And this was at a time when connects were a lot cheaper and the fees I think were also a little bit cheaper too. Maybe I was wrong about that. In my opinion, the best thing you can do if you're a complete beginner on Upwork is just try to get at least like 2 or 3 reviews before you actually start spamming proposals and maybe boosting your profile. Because it's not going to go anywhere, realistically speaking, and you need to actually improve your profile. A good rule of thumb is to try and make at least $1,000 on your profile and get 13 out of 16 weeks above 90% job success score so that you can actually get top rated. And then that does tend to help things. And finally, maybe the most important reason that you might not want to get started on Upwork this year is that it costs money and that sucks. And a lot of people that watch my channel maybe don't have a ton of money and maybe you struggle with money. And the idea of investing $300, $400, $500, even $4,000 into connects if you're really big might freak you out. And that's definitely logical. But if we move on to the pros, I really want to hammer on the fact that the connects are actually so profitable, but let me explain a little bit more. So when it comes to the pros and how connects are actually quite valuable and you get a good return on them, for full context, as you've probably seen on my YouTube channel, in the last 90 days or so, I went from essentially zero, essentially starting from scratch with just a profile with 10K earned on it, all the way up to 100K on my profile. And I made about $70,000 in that period. And I only spent, I think, about $3,000 in connects, which is pretty crazy. The return is awesome. I'll be honest, the return is better than what I ever had in cryptocurrency, for example. I made way more money investing my money into connects than I ever did on BTC. I just think that a lot of people are worried about spending the connects and not getting any return back, but you have to take some risks. Ultimately, this is a business. And if you don't want to work in a 9-to-5 job, you do have to take some risks. In my exact example, I was working at Holland & Barrett and I was taking about, £400 a month back from that 9-to-5 job, and I was reinvesting it back into Connects to land my first clients. And some of those clients weren't that big. They were like $400, $180 was the first ever one I had. Then it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And as your profile grows, you can land bigger and bigger clientele. I mean, you guys have seen me close a $180,000 client on my profile. Another pro that I actually think is probably one of the best things to show you in terms of is Upwork worth it in 2026 is I actually have a little experiment for you. All I want you to do is go and put out a fake job on Upwork and make it super realistic, make it in your niche. So for example, if you're a video editor, you could say, hey, I'm a video editor hiring for a personal brand, blah, blah, blah. Put that job out and just see the quality of the people that actually respond to you. And I almost guarantee, and I would love to know in the comment section what you guys think, I can almost guarantee that you will be bombarded essentially with ChatGPT messages, rubbish proposals, terrible profiles. And even though there's 18 million freelancers on Upwork, there's probably about 50 decent people in your niche that you're actually competing with. So there isn't super high competition. Like in reality, there isn't crazy competition on Upwork in my opinion, and you're really not competing with that many people. And it doesn't matter what niche you're in. I've seen this with my students in copywriting or AI automation, web dev, UI design, Facebook ads. It doesn't matter. There's not crazy competition. It's just that you think there is because there's such a large amount of freelancers. But if you've ever hired on Upwork, you'll know you're just glancing through like a bunch of rubbish applications and then boom, you see like one who's sent a loom and one that's top rated and has a really good profile picture and is kind of following the steps that I talk about on this channel, and they stand out. And another pro right now, specifically in 2026, is that AI and development niches, they are absolutely crushing. Like prior to me being in AI on Upwork, the biggest client I ever closed was like $4,000. And at that time I thought, that's crazy. And like video editing, social media management, that was like mind-blowing to me. But with AI automation, it's super common to have a client for $4,000, $5,000, $15,000, $30,000. It doesn't really matter. Like AI web development is a big niche right now, and you should take advantage of it. I mean, I didn't know that much about AI automation when I made my profile, and I kind of documented that all on my YouTube channel, and you can check it out. And I was still able to be successful, so why can't you? And here's another thing, factual, that nobody talks about when it comes to the pros of Upwork. There are over 840,000 clients on the platform. Let me say that again. There's over 840,000 clients on the platform. And a client is represented by they've spent at least $5,000 in the last 12 months. So there's a bunch of money to be made with this platform. And ultimately, when you have great clients and you do great work, you have a lot of repeat business. And almost every single client that I've had in the last 3 months has stayed on and has done some form of repeat business with me. But that's also because I do a good job. And that's another thing. If you are excellent at what you do, you will get repeat business and your profile will grow very quickly. So in my opinion, there's so many pros, there's so many cons as to whether or not Upwork is worth it in 2026. I'm a little bit biased because I made $68,000 last month in the last 31 days with Upwork alone, and my profit was like $30,000 or so. But at the end of the day, if you want to make a decision, all you need to think about are these few things. Number one, you need to change your mindset around Upwork. You need to realize that Upwork is a business and there is a cost to acquire customers, and that cost is in connects. You also need to realize that if you're being ignored and people aren't responding to your messages, that's not the client just ignoring you. They're basically rejecting you and they're saying no. So you need to change something about your profile, your proposal, or potentially things like your job success score, and your profile picture is very important too. Another thing is obviously you just can't do terrible work. I'll be honest, 5 years ago, you could probably get away with not being that great of a freelancer. Now you need to be really, really exceptional. But if you are exceptional, you get access to these awesome clients. And trust me, like, I get it. Like sometimes you think, let me just get a little $500 client here and do a $1,000 client here. And I don't want to do crazy good work and over deliver, but you're not unlocking the big clients by doing that. And you have to think a business is a person's baby. And if you don't treat it well, then why would you expect them to treat you well? And the most important thing, if you didn't listen to anything else I said in this video, just listen to this, because this will blow your mind. And nobody talks about this. There are freelancers on this platform that are making over $100,000 a month, over $1 million a year with just a freelance or agency profile. Let that sink in. There's honestly no excuses. Of course, you can get clients outside of Upwork. You can get clients on LinkedIn or cold email or cold calling or referrals or whatever. But in my opinion, Upwork is still the best place to land clients if you're a beginner looking to quit your 9-to-5 job, or if you're a skilled freelancer or a skilled person with a skill that you want to land clients and obviously provide value on this platform. Never forget, they have paid out $4 billion, right? And I'm not saying this, Upwork isn't paying me to say this and make this video. I actually changed my life with this platform, and I think you should too. And there's not really any reasons to not use it. If you do all of these things that I'm talking about, you will crush it. But unfortunately, you will still have to go down the rabbit hole, which most people do, which is trying to figure this out on your own, and how do I do this thing, and how do I change my profile like this, and how do I send proposals? And that's exactly what I did, and that's why I made this YouTube channel, to kind of help you guys get started and progress in your journey as freelancers on the platform. But if you want more one-to-one help and you want to work with me directly, and I'll like make your profile, organize your stuff, then click the link below, and I look forward to working with you. But at the end of the day, I hope you got some value out of this video. See you in the next one.